Hey, Dr. Wes here again. While I was here in Greenville thinking about Streamline and working with Streamline, thought it might be fun to take a little walk down memory lane. So many of you will be familiar with the term the Datastream Mafia. For those of you who don't know what that term means, it dates all the way back to the origins of the product that we now know as Hexagon EAM. So many of us actually worked for a company called Datastream back in the old days, back around the turn of the century. And the company was owned by a guy named Larry Blackwell. And there's kind of a whole mystique and a whole story about how the company Datastream was founded. But the way the story goes, at least as it was related to me all those years ago, is that Larry essentially was working for an engineering firm, had a PhD in environmental engineering, and developed a product to help manage maintenance for wastewater treatment plants. The engineering firm really had no desire to develop that product and to take it to market. So Larry arranged to take that product with him as he left the company and basically create a company called Datastream. Now, that original product was something called Maintain It, which ultimately became Maintain It Pro. And this was a really simple program that was actually sold through like Granger catalogs. And it was literally a dump it out of the box, run it to install it on a local computer, and then enter your parts, enter your assets, and do some maintenance planning. And that ultimately led to developing a brand new in-house product, which was ultimately called MP2, which again, as folklore goes, that stood for Maintenance Product 2 or Maintenance Package 2, depending on who you talk to. And that actually was the origins of what we now know as, of the company anyway, that founded and marketed the product we now know as Hexagon EAM. Now, that all started, at least as I came into the company at Datastream in 1999. They were headquartered in this building right behind me. It's at 50 Datastream Plaza in Greenville, South Carolina. Now, the building's vacant now, it's available, but all those years ago, this is kind of where it all started. Back in 1999, I was hired by Datastream, and I was actually hired into a product called MP5, Maintenance Package 5 or Maintenance Product 5, depending on who you talk to. Now, MP5 was a little different in that Larry had a vision and recognized that he needed a product that was bigger than MP2, that was capable of working with enterprise level organizations. MP2 is a great product, but it was kind of limited, and it was really good for working with just a single facility or a single plant or a single location. But Larry knew that he needed to grow something into more of an enterprise type organization or an enterprise type package. And MP2 was just very difficult to do that with. There's a whole story dating back to a whole bunch of folks that tried to make that move and tried to help Larry make that move, and some things that didn't go very well in changing MP2 into an enterprise level package. And so Larry went out on the hunt, bought a company called Rapier, which had a product called Rapier 5, which was really an enterprise-wide maintenance package. It was originally, I think, from Holland or Danish. It was somewhere over in Europe. And we brought that product to the US, did some translation into English, and then started trying to sell and grow that package. There was some difficulty in growing some of the old MP2 resources up into the enterprise level MP5 package. And I kid you not, I was literally the very first MP5 project manager that was hired off the streets. There were two guys that worked here, a guy named Neil Crane, who many of you have heard of something called The Book. Well, Neil was the original writer of The Book. And then a gentleman named Lee Shin, who actually still works for Datastream today, or Hexagon today. Lee Shin worked here and was a project manager for MP5. And Neil Crane and Mr. Shin basically trained me to be an MP5 project manager. And that's where it all started back in 1999. Left Datastream in 2001. Basically, I was hired as part of a surge to try to handle the Y2K issue, and recognizing that a lot of our clients were going to have Y2K issues with their maintenance management packages. And so I was hired as part of the surge to try to handle some of the Y2K surge. We did that quite well, got through that quite well. I moved over, working with a gentleman named Greg Jackson, to do the project directing and deployments for a brand new product called iProcure, which integrated into MP2 and into MP5. And then left Datastream to start my own company. My first company was called Global PTM. And basically, Datastream had a shortage of resources at that particular time. They had just gone through a massive layoff, and I was retained, but when I decided to leave, they had a little bit of a shortage of resources. So they basically gave me 8 projects and said, please manage these for us, and we will help you start your own company. And that literally is how I got my start. Stayed with the company called Global PTM until sometime around 2008, 2009. Left that company, was out of the business for a little while, and within just a few months started EAM Solutions, and have been leading the charge at EAM Solutions ever since. So Datastream bought a product called Rapier, a company called Rapier. Product was called Rapier 5. They decided to call it MP5 maintenance package because of the old MP2 legacy, if you will. So the MP2 legacy, they didn't want to call it MP3 because it already had a 5 number on it, so they called it MP5. Then when they sold the product to Infor, Infor finally changed the product to Infor. It became Datastream 7i, then Infor 7i, and then ultimately Infor EAM. And then within the last couple of years, Infor sold that product to Hexagon, and that is the product we now know as Hexagon EAM. That is probably way more history than any of you ever cared about or ever wanted to know about the history of the product we call Hexagon EAM. But that's where it all started, at least for me and for many of the people. Oh, circling back to the term Datastream Mafia. Those of us who have been with the product for 20 years plus, the old guard, if you will, have often been referred to as the Datastream Mafia. Mainly because we were part of the Datastream group, and frankly, we're the ones who kind of planted the seeds and helped to grow this product and plant it literally all around the world, and to train all the new people that are now coming into the field. You know, there aren't a whole lot of the Datastream Mafia left, just to tell you the truth. Most of them have either moved on to other things or have retired. But there's a few of us that just keep hanging on and just refuse to turn it loose. But anyway, there you go. 50 Datastream Plaza, the place where Datastream MP5 was developed into a product that could be distributed and used to manage maintenance in the modern world. Anyway, far more than you ever wanted to know, but this is Dr. Wes. This is Dr. Wes, and hope that was interesting.